Good morning. This is Karen Atwood. I am the Director of Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Northeastern Iowa. With me is Cindy Stantaford. Cindy is a certified credit counselor with Consumer Credit. In an effort to bring more information to you, members of the public, we at Consumer Credit present 2 credit education programs each month on KBBG radio. They're on the first and third Tuesdays of each month from 10:30 to 11 on KBBG, which is 88.1 on the FM dial. It's a call-in program, so feel free to call 234-1441 with your questions. This program is again repeated in the evening, 7:30 p.m. Let me start by thanking Lou, Bev, Edie, and the KBBG team for allowing us this opportunity to be with you to help answer your credit and debt questions. The questions that you have about money, many times a person feels they're kind of silly or anybody knows the answer. Well, let me tell you, the advertisers are out there tricking all of us to believe that we really need the things they want us to buy. It isn't really need the things we need, it's need the things they want us to buy. Your money will only stretch as far as you make it stretch. There isn't enough money to get everything you want and need. And the key with you hear a lot about budgets, but a budget is simply a spending plan. It's a plan for reaching your goals, but spending your money in certain ways so that there is money left to meet those goals. Cindy, do you want to comment on that?
Well, I was raised very fortunately by parents that got us everything we needed. We didn't really lack for anything, but we never had the best of everything. We had what would take care of our needs, and we each started out with a pair of shoes and a couple outfits and new underwear. For Christmas it was always pajamas, robes, underwear, things that we needed. Too often today, and I think this is just a society thing, that people want to keep up with the Joneses, more or less. And that's probably an age-old problem too, where they see everybody else that has everything, the brand new everything, the $130 tennis shoes, the best of everything, the Coach purses, whatever. And they think they need that, but it's really so untrue.
If you ask, like I asked my great-granddaughter, who's going to turn 7 next week, what she wanted for her birthday. Well, I would, in my day, or even in my children's day, they would have said a bike, shoes, whatever it is, right? She had a name for it. She said, well, I want a pair of Skechers. Wait a minute, that's a pretty upscale type of shoe, but it's a definite name shoe. And then the other thing she named, I'm still not sure what it is. But I know it must come from the toy aisle of some sort. But that's the way they are today. TV and I won't say radio, but a TV and those stores get it in their head. This is the name. You go ask Mom for this, you ask Grandma for that, because they're going to get you what you want.
And that's where all the credit debt problems come from.
That's right.
Is, you have to learn to live within your means, because money doesn't grow on trees, like they say. And there is a finite limit to what you have. And if you charge, sooner or later that bill becomes due, that you have to make a payment for that credit that you requested they extend. And that is where we see the people coming into our office saying, I'm totally out of control with my credit cards. I don't know how this happened. I've gone to a payday loan to try to keep up with it. Now I'm in bigger trouble because I can't pay the payday loan, or the payday loan was taken out of my check, so now I have no money whatsoever to live on. Can't even buy groceries. That's where people have to go back to their roots, so to speak, and start living on a budget that balances the income to what you spend.
I have a granddaughter who has now graduated from college and isn't facing the student loans yet because she's not making enough money. But she's fighting I gotta get the rent in, I've gotta get this payment made. And on one hand, she feels good because she's making money. On the other hand, she feels awful because she's not making enough money to cover everything.
Yeah.
And yet, she's not covered by not having to pay because of being in school. So it is really tough. And if you don't, and everybody needs to feel the same about it, it's all the priorities. It's get the things that you need paid for first, and the others later. If you get in a problem with a credit card, you call it what it is. Look at that credit card, see how big it is, and decide how you're gonna pay it off. If you want, sit down with a credit counselor, even if you have only one credit card, and decide how many months it's gonna take you and what you're gonna pay. Don't be afraid of paying them more often than once a month. Some people feel the only time you can pay a credit card is when the bill comes in. No, take that card, flip it around in the back, you will see a phone number, you will see an address. You can make that payment every week if you want. And every time you make a payment, it will reduce the amount of interest that you're paying. That's a little work on your part, but you can save yourself.
And what you said about everybody being on the same page, if you're married, if you're cohabitating, whatever it is your situation is, you have to be on the same page together. Working independently, you're not gonna make it, because if one has a mind frame of doing, spending what they want, and the other one is trying to pay the bills and get them paid off, it's not gonna work. You have to come together and join forces so that you're on the same page. And in addition to what you said about making extra payments, even paying $2 more than what your minimum payment is, or $5, $10, whatever it is you can afford, that is ultimately gonna help you, do nothing but help you in the long run.
Yes, I had a couple come in to see me a good 25 years ago. They had not been communicating on what debt they had or how they're gonna pay it. She had credit cards, he had credit cards, and then he quit his job. So all of a sudden, everything fell to her. So as they sat there, she would take out a card and she would tell me how much it was, and the interest rate, etc. And then he'd say, wait a minute, you got one of those? I got one too. And then she'd do that when he was given his. Long story short, they had about $60,000 worth of debt that they weren't aware of. So you don't go making those decisions like quitting a job because you don't like Johnny sitting next to you or Mary sitting next to you, if it is going to upset your Apple Card at home.
Yeah, because once you don't make a payment on your credit card account, it has a profound effect on you. Not only is it reported as late to the credit bureau, but late charges are assessed. There's additional accrual of interest because you didn't pay down on it. All right, then once that goes on as a habit or repeatedly, you have the opportunity, or the creditor has the opportunity or option of possibly seeking a judgment against you. But before they even do that, they may send it to collection. Now it's reported as a collection account, or referred to a third party. That really affects the way lenders that you may approach, in the future for further credit, look at you as a potential, credit worthiness, all right?
Those collection agencies, their purpose is for 90 days to get debt. At the end of the 90 days, it goes to a new collection agency. So you can have 9 collection agencies collecting for the same debt, but you don't recognize them because they're different amounts and they're coming from a different state.
And the reason they're different amounts is normally every collection company that it is referred to adds their own fee to
Yes.
that debt. So it doesn't go down. It just keeps going up and up and up.
Yes, and so once you owe a debt, you need to continue to pay the debt to the place you owe it. The only thing that's gonna make that debt disappear is bankruptcy or death. Now, as far as your credit rating is concerned, a credit bureau, after so many years it falls off. It doesn't no longer become a debt, it just falls off collection. They're gonna collect from you the hardest the first 90 days. And then if your company keeps it 90 days, any one of the major credit cards, after 90 days it goes to a collection agency, after 90 days it goes to another collection agency, and so on, and so on, and so on. 5 years from now you can be getting calls from a collection agency. Maybe now you have income and you decide, oh, what do I owe you? And then you pay them, and where does that money go? You see, you never know. So keep it straight, what you owe to who, and then if you go to pay off your debt, make sure you pay off the place you actually owe. And with regard to that, we all can get into that. Because I don't know anybody that has all of their life had enough money to pay everything all the time, on time.
Amen.
This just happens.
It's life.
Yes, it does. It's just life. And when you once understand that, then don't feel so ashamed. Did you know that the first time you're late with your Mid-American bill in the year, they forgive you and there's no charge? I don't think the same is true of the waterworks, because I don't think they've ever forgiven anything to anybody. That's our good old government at work. Call your credit card the first time you're late in the year and you realize, and it's a whoops. Ask them to please forgive that late payment charge. And you know, there's a very good chance they will, because they want the goodwill.
Yes.
They're really not
Yes.
out just to slap you with $39 or $49. If you have a bank overdraft, first one you get, call them and say, hey, you know, I had a whoops in my life. Would you please give me my $30 back? You know, that's a lot of money for me. Creditors are willing to work with you. They're willing to help you out. What they are not willing to work with is patterns.
Yes.
So once you're repeatedly doing something, you might just as well write it off. I know there's a lot of people that work for all these companies, but try to get the first one written off and then stay on track. And when you pay your bills, I don't like to pay them often, so I will pay them either once a month or twice. My husband pays them every time they come in. To me, that's depressing. I don't like that, but it's up to whatever is comfortable for you.
Well, you have to remember one other thing that, you know, you had just mentioned too, is that the creditors, basically they're businesses, and it's so true what they say about word of mouth as far as repeat business or referral business from current customers. Because if you get really good service and a customer service representative waives a late charge, you're more than likely going to tell people that, oh yeah, if somebody needs something, yeah, go to these people, because they really are good to work with. So they do want to help you, you know, and like you said, it's when it becomes a pattern. And when you miss, you know, more than one payment, or you just, you know, if it's a one-time deal, chances are they will try to make you happy. But if it's something that you know in your heart, you know, you've done this incorrectly, you know, you haven't paid what you should have, or you haven't paid it when you should have, you know, that's when that creditor is more likely going to say, or take a hardline stance and say, no, I need this now. You know,
Right.
This is what you have to do.
A number of years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, my granddaughter was in the hospital in Rochester suddenly, and her dad was in Canada. Well, my husband and I drove up to Canada to get him back. But I never carry much money on me, and he didn't have much, so I had to go to the bank and get a $400 cash advance. That weighed on me all the way up. I'm thinking 23% interest on this $400 cash advance, I'm gonna get killed in interest. When I came back from Canada. I went right to the bank, I paid the $400 back, and they never charged me a dime. So see, that can happen.
Yeah.
It all depends upon what your payment history is, what your habits are. Now, I'm sure if I held on to that money for a month, they would have said, okay, wait a minute here, you've got some interest owing, but I got right back and took care of it because that was just a little bit of a money that I needed in order to get me over this crisis.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that people just don't seem to realize either, is that credit is one of the most valuable tools that
Yes.
you can ever have. Good credit is the best thing you can ever do for yourself.
It's needed so much, not only for getting into a hotel, but for renting a car, almost anything. And as you get older, it's a pleasure to put things on credit, knowing when you pay the bill at the end of the month, this is all for one kind of thing, or like if it's a quick start bill, this is all for gas. You know, you just manage your life by your credit. But you can't manage your life by credit if you're using everything on credit.
Absolutely.
That is the key. You also are not going to purchase anything major without credit. So credit makes all of our lives possible. We're not the Warren Buffett, well, I'm sure Warren Buffett has great credit, but we're not the folks out there with so much cash we never have to even think about whether it's going to be cash or credit or check.
And when it comes back to that type of a scenario too, you gotta think, you know, you have to pre-plan your purchases. You have to look for sales, you have to look for discounts. You know, it's little things just like couponing. You know, they can save you a lot of money, so it is how you use your money and your credit that is gonna affect everything you do in life.
This is the time that many parents do their school shopping. And there are a lot of good sales this last weekend with the sales tax off. That too was good, although I found most of the prices comparable, which is kind of nice. I went out to get some things for my great-granddaughter. They all should have, the children as they go into school should have good outfits to feel good about. Because how they feel when they're dressed when they go to school will have a lot to do with how they study and how they behave.
And their self-esteem.
Yes.
You know, the other kids are, obviously, kids can be cruel, you know, and if they don't have, like you said, comparable clothing, and I'm not saying the best of everything, just, like I said, we always started out with 2 or 3 outfits,
Yes.
and that's what we had.
And that's really all a child needs because most children do a lot of growing.
Yes.
And if you get too many things this time of year, by late October, early November, they're going to outgrow them and the tags are, well, the tags won't be on it, but they'll be close to that.
Well, and I was fortunate, I was the youngest of 4 girls, so I got a lot of hand-me-downs. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
And that's maybe something that we really need to go back to some of the older, you know, options that we used to utilize in the past to get yourself back on track. If that's what you gotta do, that's what you gotta do.
I was in private school, so we had uniforms, and so were my children. So I made my daughter's uniform, just like my mother had made mine. Well, that was probably the most expensive uniform I made because I had to order the material and the pattern and all of that. Well, the next year, the uniforms that the kids no longer fit in were available for $5 a piece, all made. So from there on, they wear those hand-me-downs and they're perfectly good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's just nothing wrong with them. So kids need to feel good about that. They need the proper equipment for school, and they need to be excited about it. So parents need to be happy. Not happy that you're getting rid of the kids, but happy that the kids are going to go with their peers and start a new year. Happy that they're going to be getting more information.
We can't be happy that we're getting rid of them. Because that was kind of my first thought.
Only on the inside, I think.
Yeah, okay.
At Consumer Credit, we meet with you. We help you figure out what would be a good spending plan for you and your family. We encourage you, if you have teenagers, take them into this little discussion, because they can break your budget very easily.
Very easily.
At the time they're teenagers, you're no longer talking $2 or $5. You're talking more like 20, 40 or more.
Yeah, and depending on if it's other alternative activities, sports, bands, that kind of thing, we can talk in the hundreds.
Yes. And so you have to limit it. And these children should know money does not grow on trees. Money is not easy for people. Your parents work hard to get what they have, and they sacrifice. And we all hate to think that that same spiral is going to happen to them, and they're going to be going into a great deal of sacrifice for their children. But it most likely will be the way. That's why we have to learn to be satisfied with what we need, not getting everything we want.
Exactly.
So, Consumer Credit is located at 1003 West 4th Street in Waterloo. Our office hours are 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday, and Friday morning, 9 to 12. If you'd like to sit down and talk with a counselor about the spending plan you have, or setting a spending plan, you go ahead and do that. Call 234-0661, and Susan will set an appointment with either Cindy or Lindsay, or a phone appointment. So you can come in, or you can call and receive some help. We also provide housing counseling, so if you're delinquent on your rent or your mortgage, your counselor will help you figure that out. If you're getting ready to buy a house, we'll help you figure out what you need to know. We've got a wonderful book, Make Your Move, which will help you understand the do's and don'ts of buying a house. The more information you have, the more knowledge, the better. And if you don't have a credit card today, the more knowledge you get before you get a credit card, the better. It'll help you learn to use it.
And if you're seriously in trouble, we can always discuss possibility of filing bankruptcy. We offer the full range of counseling benefits.
Yes, there are times that it just isn't going to work to continue. Although, like a bankruptcy attorney told me, you need to be at the bottom. You can't be in the middle of medical appointments to resolve something and file bankruptcy. You've got to wait until you're all the way down, and hopefully back up with a job. You can pay for your own bankruptcy fee, and you can put this debt behind you. So it's got to be done at the right time, and then it will be successful.
Yeah. And, you know, we also offer a full range of educational courses for anybody that wants to learn more about budgeting or credit or checking, anything basically of that nature. We have a class pertaining to it. So, you know, that's another thing that if you're interested in, call the office and Susan will let you know what's available or when it's scheduled, or, you know, and you can decide from there if you want to partake.
Yes, and this is all about education. This program, which is funded in part through the Guernsey Charitable Trust, but this program is meant to give you the information you need to be more successful in your financial life. So give us a call, Consumer Credit Counseling, at 234-0661, anytime, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, or Friday, 9 to 12, and we'll get an appointment set up with you. So thank you again, and for joining us this morning, and we will look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Have a good day, Cindy.
Thank you very much. You too, Karen.
Bye now.